All right, for everyone that has been waiting on my video talking about why I want the Tennessee Titans to draft Cam Ward, here it is. Now, in this video, I'm not only going to talk about the positives for Cam Ward. I will also address some negative parts of Cam Ward's game, just to keep it fair. So, wanted to go ahead, put that out there. So if you've looked into Cam Ward's story of where he come from all the way up to the point where he's at now, you would know that coming out of high school, Cam Ward was a zero-star recruit. Now, I've had one person in my comments view this as a negative thing against Cam Ward. But just like with everything, you have to look at the context around it. The reason that Cam Ward was a zero-star recruit coming out of high school was because the offense that was ran at his high school was the wing T offense. Now, I kind of know a little bit about that because where I went to high school at, they ran the wing T offense. So you don't throw the ball much in that offense. And that is very clear when Cam Ward, his senior year, only averaged throwing the ball 12 times per game. So really hard to become any star recruit when you're only throwing the ball 12 times per game. Now, even though Cam Ward was a zero-star recruit coming out of high school, he did not let that derail him from reaching the goals that he wanted to get to. He only had one scholarship offer coming out of high school, and that was from Incarnate Word, a college in San Antonio, Texas, and it's an FCS school. I'm not going to go into every little detail of Cam Ward's college career. If you want to see Cam Ward's story, go check it out on YouTube. But some things that I do want to hit on. In his time at Incarnate Word, in his 2 years there, 2 times he led the FCS in passing touchdowns. His first year there, he won the Jerry Rice Award as the top freshman in the FCS. And in his second year there, he did lead Incarnate Ward to a Southland Conference championship. He was also a finalist for the Walter Payton Award, given to the most outstanding player in the FCS. Then, in his 2 years at Washington State, he was honorable mention all Pac-12 conference. So made the transition from FCS to the FBS, and then made the transition to a Power 5 conference when he ended up going to Miami, where he was first team Associated Press All-American, ACC Player of the Year, ACC Offensive Player of the Year, first team All-ACC, won the Davey O'Brien Award, so the nation's top quarterback, and was a finalist for the Heisman Trophy. And to go along with all of that, he set the NCAA record with 158 passing touchdowns in his career. Now, I do want to talk about a couple of the bad parts of Cam Ward's game because I told you we were going to talk about all of this. So, Cam Ward did have a bit of a fumbling problem in college, mainly in his time at Washington State, but he did clean that up quite a bit in his time with Miami. Cam Ward can also be inaccurate on his deep ball. There's times where he's on the money, and there's times where he can be off just a little bit. So definitely something that he's going to have to clean up in the NFL. Another knock on Cam Ward's game is there's times where he just needs to take the check down. But instead, he tries to force it down the field a little bit. Again, another thing he needs to work on. He also, and you can notice this in his pro day, when he's going to the right side of the field, he can be behind his receivers on outbreaking routes and things like that. That's something, again, like I've said with other things, he's going to have to work on. He's going to have to get to the point where he's leading those guys towards the sidelines versus throwing behind them. Because if you throw behind them, especially in the NFL, it's more likely to be picked off. And the last part of Cam Ward's game that I want to talk about that can be a bad habit is the fact of there are times when trying to extend plays, Cam Ward can run 10, 15, sometimes even 20 yards back behind the line of scrimmage. And while that may work in college quite a bit, it's not always going to work in the NFL. Now, I'm not saying it will never work in the NFL because we have seen examples of quarterbacks being able to do that and run around like crazy behind the line of scrimmage, run back 10, 15 yards, and still make plays from that. but you're not going to be able to do it as often. So, again, something he has to work on. Now, back to the positives for Cam Ward. I mentioned how he went from 0-star recruit and went through his college career all the way up to the point of him setting the NCAA record with 158 passing touchdowns. But the big thing here is Cam Ward showed he was able to do it at every level in college. He went to 3 different schools, started off at the FCS level, then went to the FBS, and then went to a Power 5 conference in college football and had success at every level. That is major because that shows, and 3 different systems. He was able to go through 3 different systems and have success. So that can transfer to the NFL because he's going to be in another new system. But he showed that he is willing to put in the work, learn the system, and get the job done. And that shows even more in his time at Miami because he gets to Miami, it's a new system, he dives into the playbook, and most of the time in college, you see quarterbacks not have full control of the playbook. When it comes to audibles and stuff out on the field, they look over to the sidelines, and the sidelines are holding up cue cards for them to know what audible to call. Miami did not do that for Cam Ward. Cam Ward come in, learned the playbook, had a handle on it, and they let him call the audibles at the line of scrimmage. He didn't have to look over to the sidelines. They put it all on his shoulders, and he got the job done. Then, if you listen to interviews with Cam Ward's teammates, his coaches, they tell you how hard of a worker Cam Ward is. He is all ball all the time, first one in, last one out of the building. He's putting in the work. He's putting in the film study. He even talks about how when they go out, him and the receivers, to practice, if they have routes that they miss on, things just aren't perfect, they're going back and they're running them back. They're not just calling it good. No, they keep going back and working on it until it is perfect. Another thing about Cam Ward's game that I like is his ability to avoid pressure. Now, is he perfect all the time in feeling the pressure? No. But really, what quarterback is absolutely perfect all the time at feeling it? But when Cam Ward does see the pressure coming or when he does feel it, the way he is able to escape from that pressure and make plays is amazing. And I will have a couple of video clips that I pop in right here to show you some things that I like. So we see in this first clip right here, guy comes up the middle untouched. Cam is able to make him miss, work up the pocket, over the shoulder of the defender to complete a pass. And right here against Florida, escape out of the pocket from the pressure and throw an absolute dot. Another thing about Cam Ward that I like is when he does decide to escape the pocket, he doesn't just look to run right away when he gets out of the pocket. No, he escapes the pocket and he does what you see a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL, a lot of the top quarterbacks do. He is keeping his eyes down the field and looking to make a play with his arm before finally deciding to take off. That's a big positive. A couple more things about Cam Ward's game that I like. He has really quick hands. You were able to see this especially in his pro day when they were doing like the RPO routes in there. Just how quick he is able to get the ball out is a big positive. Another thing is Cam Ward's leadership. Everywhere he goes, he has been a leader and he has helped elevate the guys around him, and the Titans desperately need that in their quarterback room and just for their team in general. And we all know that Cam Ward has the arm to make any throw that would be required in the NFL. But another big thing that stands out to me is Brian Callahan has talked about he wants to know what a quarterback is made of, not just physically, but also upstairs. And Cam Ward has showed he has what it takes mentally to get it done at every level and succeed at every level. Those are the things that I like about Cam Ward and why I think the Titans should draft him. Tighten up.